The World Business Academy is honored to accept this fantastic report, and we congratulate Bernard and his associates on this really world-changing report. The brilliance of the report is that it describes with crystal clarity the fundamental connections between the most greatest challenges of the 21st century. It describes the fundamental structural flaws in our monetary system in a way that will give business leaders the insights and the tools they need to demand reforms and protect their enterprises, whether or not there's government action. The chapter that in the book that is quite striking, chapter 7 on private initiative solutions, begins with a report, with a quotation that makes me think of the report itself. It says, "The future belongs to people who see possibilities before they become obvious." And certainly that applies to this book and the creativity that is contained within it. For too long, business leaders have overlooked the dangers the present monetary system creates for the business sector. The way it amplifies the boom and bust cycle, the way it creates the short-term focus on profits, and goes along with the thinking that allows us to characterize the destruction of the earth on which we live as an externality. As the Academy wrote in its formal acknowledgement of receipt, just as war is too important to be left to generals, so monetary policy is too important to be left to monetary theorists. And after this book becomes known to decision makers and business leaders and average people around the world, we'll see a profound change in thinking, just as the Club of Rome's report, The Limits of Growth, so changed our thinking about the earth on which we live 40 years ago. This report has the power to launch a monetary awareness movement and the creation of innovative exchange mechanisms that we need as much as any other thing. We focused too much on narrow environmental concerns, not understanding how the whole system works as a whole and the profound changes that a reform of the monetary system can bring about. From the World Business Academy's discussion with business leaders, we know the difference this report can make. The World Business Academy is a nonprofit, a think tank, and a network of business leaders that was founded about 40 years ago to inspire and assist business to take responsibility for the whole. Its objectives are to change the consciousness of business leaders from self-service to servant leadership, to change the consciousness of young people entering business, particularly those going through business school, so that they understand that by entering the business world, they're entering a noble profession and not a jungle. And finally, our third objective is to change the awareness of the public at large so they spend their money in alignment with their values. Congratulations and thank you for this report, and thank you to the Club of Rome.
Thank you, Madeleine, especially for the trouble you took to travel that long, and we are very, very happy. I mentioned Thierry Philippe Bonnat, and you may be sure I kept one copy for you. They're not sold out yet. Thierry is already a friend, and as a matter of fact, while we were thinking about this book, we had a couple of meetings, and he inspired us with a critical view and a sharp eye, but officially it's not supposed to know the contents. So probably he will read it tonight, either when he's traveling back home or that's in his bed. This is your copy, Thierry, and thank you very much for accepting it.
Thank you very much, Mark. Great honor and pleasure to be here. I'm coming from not as far as Madeleine, as we're based like probably about 2 minutes from here, so I have less merit to be here tonight. But the honor is really ours. On behalf of Finance Watch and its 66 members, as Finance Watch is a membership organization, I'm very, very happy to receive and to accept this report. And I would like to thank the Club of Rome for proposing and presenting this excellent and thought-provoking report. We're honored to accept it because we feel it's absolutely essential to think outside of the box. And we will read this report, we will study it, we will respond to it, which is absolutely fundamental for us. Finance Watch has two main work streams. One work stream is to work on reacting on legislative dossiers that are on the agenda of European institutions, dealing with financial regulations and with a view of making finance and financial regulation work for society. That's our big objective. But reacting to legislative dossiers is one thing. Being proactive in promoting something that makes sense for society is another thing. And we see this report as typically the sort of thought-provoking, forward-thinking that we need to get beyond the detail of what is being discussed today, not meaning that that is not important, but in our view, it is not sufficient. Mark and Bernard have asked me to say a few words, so I will expand a little bit now. Financial and economic problems that this report addresses have their roots in what we can politely describe as optimistic assumptions about the ability of markets to deliver public good and public benefits. And this, in our view, is coupled with a high level of confusion about the way money is created and about the way money is used. Most of us, and I would include myself in this most of us, have at times been guilty of placing too much faith in old textbook theories, even when the result of those theories has been so, I dare say, appalling, and when they have obviously failed in so many circumstances. Fresh thinking is needed. Even beyond the circle of monetary experts, it is common wisdom that money should not be confused with prosperity and well-being. Money is merely a tool to help us achieve those things, yet in the public debate, this simple truth does not seem to be recognized. As a society, we, all of us, I feel, have failed to recognize that sustainability, which by the way still seems to be a dirty word in some business circles, is essential, and that if we want to share the good fortune that we have all been lucky to enjoy with future generations, we'd better be active and do something about it. In this report, what I find absolutely remarkable is that it has the ability to link the concept of sustainability to monetary issues. And if something has to be given to the credit of this report, Bernard in particular, it is the fact that Bernard has made me understand what sustainability is about. I was referred to this earlier. Sustainability is about that combination of resilience and efficiency. And resilience is about diversity. And that is absolutely fundamental. And even before we read in full detail, which we will do, this report, I have been using this very concept many, many times in the numerous speeches I've been giving in the past few months. So I can assure you that this very concept is already pushed toward policymakers. Our job, our mission is to speak to policymakers, elected officials, supervisors, telling them that if they want to build a sustainable system, that system has to be resilient and efficient, and resilience is about diversity. I know this is very obvious to many people in this room. It is far from being obvious in the greater world, and this report goes much further than that, and I know that. But if anything, that's really, I feel, something that is fundamental. As I referred to, and as you may know, Finance Watch's mission is to make finance work for society, and it is about having finance serve society, serve the economy, as opposed to having society and the economy serve finance. This is our most fundamental belief, and if I were to summarize what we're here for, what our mission is, it would be about this: make finance serve society implicitly and not the other way around. In a recent report we published, and that we called Investing Not Betting, we argued that financial resources have to be allocated to productive use. Obviously, that Investing Not Betting report was applied to very technical issues that are being discussed in Parliament and the Council on the proposal of the Commission, European Commission here in Brussels at the moment. But really, when you think about it, the fundamental principles behind are exactly the same. This report applies the idea of, I feel, investing, not betting, as was expressed earlier, to a broader canvas of the monetary system. Bernard Lietaer and his colleagues, co-authors, have reminded us that our systems of economic management, be they markets, regulations, or currencies, are not religions. They are not relics that we should bow down before. They are simply tools that make our life easier. They also reminded us that we should never be afraid to question things, to change them, and at the very least to challenge them. Very often things are taken as granted. Oh, you don't think about it. You can't change that. It's taken for granted. Well, no. And certainly for us in our mission, we need to keep that in mind. There is much to question in the monetary workings of our highly financialized and integrated economy. The evidence that our systems are not working are everywhere. We can see them in the Eurozone crisis. We can see them in the collapse of banks 3-4 years ago. We can see them in our failure, in our collective failure to bring the right social and environmental solutions to the present state of the world. We can see them in the poor performance of many of our economies. We can see them in the inequalities that we see everywhere in the world, and in the growing inequalities that are the source, in our view, of many evils. 40 years ago, Club of Rome published, as we know, a groundbreaking Limit to Growth report that raised that very strange idea that maybe our resource-based economy has a limit to growth because precisely it is resource-based. The shockwaves, and I'd like to share an experience with you, the shockwaves from that report were just, I feel, unbelievable. When I was a student, that report was required reading. That was 25 years ago. It was required reading. We had to read it. So I have to say that even from a personal standpoint, today it is a great honor, and honor is the word for me to receive that report, which is 40 years after, especially in a context where we feel that the concept of money and sustainability is as challenging as the limits to growth was. We feel that the Money and Sustainability Report has potential to reshape our thinking just as much as the Limit to Growth had. I hope that policymakers and academics will take up the challenge. It goes without saying that Finance Watch is proud to help launch this ambition. Mark described the fact that, or said that, he had a view, and Club of Rome and the authors of the report had a view that it was useful or interesting to have go-betweens. We are a go-between. Our mission is to push essential messages about the financial systems to policymakers. So by accepting this report, we also take the challenge of not only analyzing it, not only responding to it, it's part of our job, but also pushing it towards policymakers and doing what it will take to create public debate about it and push the ideas. I cannot predict what people will say about this report in 2052, but what I do know is that today, in 2012, we badly need fresh thinking, we badly need imagination, and we really need courage. What strikes me is that Club of Rome and this report are about, or have, fresh thinking, they have imagination, and they have courage. This is why, and I will stop here, I would like to thank Club of Rome, the authors of this report, and Mark for addressing this report to Finance Watch. Thank you.